And I keep coming back to limitless love. Like, I want to love myself and I want to love people unconditionally for all of who they are. I want to help women learn how to love themselves unconditionally, outside of labels, outside of restriction, outside of all of these things that we've been talking about. And especially as it relates to romantic relationships and my own avoidance, my own trauma, my own sexual trauma, the only way that I can truly heal from that, at least in my own personal experience, is I say I run through the wall, right? The deeper I go with this work, the scarier the walls get, the scarier the layers, the darker it is, right? And every wall gets harder and harder to break through. But the only way to let the light in is to love yourself through it and to learn, okay, this is how I speak up and set boundaries.
Welcome to Hopeful and Wholesome, the show where ambitious women come home to their bodies. I'm your host, Hope Pedraza, and I'm a functional practitioner, human design guide, and expert on all things energy, and your partner in decoding the language of your body. This is your space to reconnect with your body's wisdom, reclaim your energy, and rise into alignment in your health, your business, and your life. Because thriving isn't about pushing harder, it's about learning to listen deeper. So let's dive in, because your next breakthrough starts right now. Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. Today I have on the show Alex Long, my dear friend who you've heard on the podcast before. She was a part of the frequency recalibration series. And in this episode, we are getting personal because we were talking all about her. Alex is a registered dietitian, unapologetically authentic leader, and trauma-informed coach. She is obsessed with helping women remember who they are underneath the labels, diets, and pressure to be enough. She spent years starving, over-exercising, and striving for perfection until it left her sick, disconnected, and ashamed. Recovery taught her that freedom doesn't come from control. It comes from learning to work with your body, not against it. So now she helps women break free from toxic cycles of food and body obsession, reconnect with their intuition, and embrace their too muchness as medicine the world needs. Her work blends nutrition, somatics, nervous system healing, and spirituality, because true transformation happens when we treat the whole person, mind, body, and soul. And we are talking about all the aspects of healing when it comes to our bodies, when it comes to food, our relationship with food, and Alex is such a wise, profound, deep thinker. We have so much in common in our design. And so we have so much to riff on, and just her own experience and her own healing journey and the wisdom that comes from that. There's so much wisdom in this episode. Alex is just so wise beyond her years. So I know you're going to get so much out of this episode. Let's jump in.
All right, y'all. I'm here with Alex. Alex, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I am so excited to chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Hope. It is a privilege to connect with you and an honor to be on the show.
Thank you. And we have already jammed out on your podcast. And so I'm excited to see what comes up for us in this conversation. And as I mentioned in our interview on your podcast, we just have so many similarities in our life experience and just who we are as people. So we're just so aligned in so many things. And I know a big part of your journey has been, and I will touch on different aspects of your journey, but I know a big part of your journey has been healing your relationship with food. And we've talked about that a little bit on the show. I mean, I've talked about my own relationship with food because that was a big part for me too, which is why I love that you have this as part of your journey as well. But I would love to hear how that has helped you not only on your physical healing journey, because you have your own physical healing journey, but how that has impacted you spiritually and emotionally. Because I think that's the thing with the food part. We could talk about a relationship with food. And most of the time when we talk about it, it's how it's affected us physically, maybe emotionally a little bit, but I feel like there's so many deeper layers than that. So I'd love to hear your experience with that.
Oh, I love this question. So healing my relationship with food, overcoming my eating disorder, really, because I had a very severe eating disorder for many, many years. And just diagnoses aside, just most of my life from age 12 through 25, I had extremely disordered eating, even as I was a practicing registered dietitian. And really doing that deeper work, it wasn't just about the food. It was never about the food. Healing my relationship with food was really just healing my relationship with myself, because I had to dig into, well, why was I restricting myself? Why was I over exercising? Why was I binging? Why was I avoiding my own emotions? Why was I trying to keep myself small and stuck? And why was I trying to take up less space? Where was this coming from? And the more that I actively rebelled against that, it wasn't just about the food rules, right? My eating disorder said I shouldn't eat carbs because carbs make me fat. That's just diet culture. It wasn't just that. It was actively rebelling against this idea that I am supposed to take up less space. That brought my light back. It felt like for a long time, I had this like flickering flame inside of me. And I'll describe this as my intuition, my divine gifts. And the more I stepped into my own power, the more I fought back against society, authority figures, systems of oppression, limiting beliefs, etc., the brighter this flame started to burn, that I started to really step into myself. I started to get to know myself again. I always say that healing my relationship with food, having this freedom from my eating disorder, was exactly what gave me the freedom to live my life authentically and unapologetically, because I couldn't travel and live this adventurous free spirit life that I am living now when I was still so trapped in these food rules and like, I have to work out, I have to be this certain size. I couldn't meet people and have relationships with people because I wasn't confident in who I really was. I wasn't confident in my body. But then as soon as I started to do the work to understand and really feel and embody that I am so much more than my body, right? Again, from a spiritual perspective, the body is just the meat suit. The body is just the vessel. Like I am a soul. I am essence. What does my energy feel like? What does that look like? Who do I really want to be in this life? Because I can be anything. I'm limitless. Like when I really started to embody that, people started to say things like, wow, you're so confident. You're so interesting. Like you're so multidimensional. It's like, well, yeah, we are the whole universe, baby. Like we can be whatever we want to be. And so my eating disorder and disordered eating patterns and getting so trapped in the food and the body and the fitness, it really disconnected me with my own intuition, with myself. And now I feel more connected to my intuition, myself and who I am and my values than I ever have. I also have learned to love even the worst parts of me. I've done a lot of shadow work, right? And I actually started to see my eating disorder with compassion instead of resentment. I used to kind of have this, and sometimes it really can feel like this. Anybody who's struggled with mental health, right? It can kind of feel like this dark part that's like living on you. And even from an energetic healing standpoint, this is something that I'm tapping in for myself or tapping into with myself, for myself, et cetera, as well. It feels like a darkness in your head or on your body somewhere. And I used to see it as this demon that I had to rebel against, but now I see it as just a protector, right? This inner child that was really scared and had no other coping mechanisms. And the more that you can learn how to meet the darkest parts of you, your quote unquote toxic traits, and it's like, what is toxic, right? Society's definition, whatever that looks like, the more that you can meet yourself exactly where you're at and see those parts of you and start to learn how to love them, the more light and love you will embody for yourself. And that's going to change the way that you move about the world. That's going to change how you feed your body. That's going to change how you physically move. That's going to change how you talk to people and show up in relationships. That might even change the direction of some of your relationships or your career. And I think that's beautiful. And that's what we're here to do. Like, that's what life is all about. And, you know, a lot of people describe intuition as like a gut feeling, right? And I think that's part of it. Learning how to listen to your body and honor what it's craving, for example, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. That's part of it. But now in my life, currently, I'm realizing that intuition is actually like a true intuitive sense. It's a divine gift, a divine ability, and you can't see it, but you can feel it. And in my case, sometimes I can hear it, right? And that has been like, it's something that I'm still exploring. It's like a whole new world because I can hear my own voice in my head, right? Like I can hear when I'm telling myself, no, I really want to eat this thing, or when my body's communicating to me, or when I know when something is right for me and what isn't. But now there's this like third layer that's like, I feel like I'm hearing something or someone else. And that sometimes sounds insane to people. And it doesn't help that I also got hit by a car at the beginning of this year and I have a traumatic brain injury. So yeah, we can talk about that.
Now you've got all the voices in your head. No, I love
Literally.
that. No, I love that answer. I agree with everything you said. And I think I love that you brought up parts work. We've talked about that in different ways on the show. And I've brought that forward a lot because I think that was a big part of, it's been a big part of my healing is like you said, I totally resonate with that feeling of like, it's this dark, shadowy part. It's like this dark, cloudy part. For me, that's what it is. It's like this shadowy, cloudy thing. Like if I close my eyes and picture what that part of me is. And I think that's been one of the biggest, I guess just one of the biggest points of growth for me is rather than trying to hide that part or feeling shame for that part, it is just loving those parts and accepting all part. I think that's the biggest thing. It's accepting that as one big part of you. And I love that you brought that forward because I think that it's that, I forget who said it, that what you resist persists. It's that kind of feeling. The more you resist those shadowy demon parts of you, whatever, of course it's going to stay there because it just needs your attention. And so I love that you brought that parts work forward.
Yeah, thank you. And something I've been reflecting on, it's so funny that you mentioned demon because I have a couple of friends actually, they call me divine demon entity. Divine, and it's like, well, that's kind of what we are, right? If we're a soul in a human body and we have these light divine parts of us, we have these demon parts of us, and it's like we can choose which part of us we want to show, and we can choose chaos at any time, right? And so it's like, I love that. And also something that a Reiki healer told me a very long time ago. I was actively struggling. I think it was like 21, 22, maybe even young. I don't even know. I came off of birth control for the first time and my body revolted. I gained weight. I had acne. I didn't get my period back. And I thought that I was doing all of the right things, eating well and resting, et cetera, et cetera. And then I dove super deep into functional health, functional nutrition, and like, this is how we do it holistically. And like, there's a whole side of the functional nutrition community that I really can't get behind either. And so I was like, well, okay, let me just try to do this again the right way and like detox the body, et cetera, et cetera. And like that worked to a degree. And then at the same time, I was learning for the first time in my life, actually, what it was like to love people unconditionally. And I've reflected on this recently because something that I have always told people is, hey, I love all of you. I want to see all of you. I want to know all of you, even the darkest parts, even the toxic traits, even the parts of you that you are afraid to share with others. I am not going to judge you because I have all of those parts in me too, and probably more. I am definitely a little demon sometimes, And so it's like, that's okay. That's okay. That's just part of you. And when you love someone, you want to love all of them. And I realized that I was showing up for these people in my life with unconditional love for all of their light and all of their darkness. And I wasn't showing that love to myself. And that Reiki healer, way back when I was 21, 22, told me that the path to healing was unconditional love for myself, speaking up for what I believe in. Again, I had a thyroid disorder, speaking out for my wants, my needs, my sovereignty, my freedom. That is a way that we show ourselves love. Showing ourselves love is it's setting boundaries. It's eating food that makes us feel good. It's resting when our body needs rest. It's trusting our intuition, trusting ourselves. For probably the first time in our life, it's like those are all ways that we can show ourselves love, saying no, saying yes, and defining our own life and our own boundaries or our own, defining life on our own terms. Like, at least for me, that's part of it too.
Yes, that's such a huge piece. It's funny you say that. I don't know if you are familiar with the Healy device. It basically measures like your energetic field, but I had this Healy session with a mentor of mine. And one of the things that came up was similar to what you were saying that the Reiki healer told you is about that. It was worded very differently because when she said it, I was like, that doesn't really resonate. And then the more we dove into it, that's what it was. It was about like basically was telling me like the path to this spiritual growth all starts with the relationship with you. Because it was something about like building a new relationship or a new love or whatever. And I'm like, but I don't want one. Like, I like my husband. But she's like, no, this is about you. So it's funny you say that. And I think that, we as women, we talked about this a little bit on your show. We talked about the shame thing and all that. But I think the other thing that this kind of goes along with this core wound of shame that we're all born with, is this core wound of the need, whether conscious or not, to sacrifice ourselves for other people and to let go of our own needs for other people. And I think when we hear that, what you were just saying, like, I've got to focus on me for so many people. Now, if people are far enough on their growth journey, then this part resonates, where they're like, yeah, I know I have to heal myself first. But this is such a foreign concept to so many people, we're telling you, like, no, you have to focus on you. You have to figure out what you want. You have to focus on you. You have to focus on your growth, your wants, your needs, all those things. And this can be such a foreign concept for people. It's such a hard thing for people to wrap their minds around.
Yeah. Well, especially in relationships as women,
Yeah.
we are taught that we will get value and validity and praise and love from other people, right? Especially if you didn't receive a lot of it in childhood, we seek that in relationships, right? And again, that's just a big piece of my own healing journey that I kind of want to share a little story about, because it connects to what you just said. I have a quote, this poster, that it's the first thing that I see when I walk out of bed, like come out of my bedroom, on my wall. And it says, "Stop searching for the light. It has always been within you."
I love that.
And I think that we can tie that back to all of this. We search for external solutions from diets, from coaches, right? So I've had people come to me and they're just like, "I just want to be told what to do." And I'm like, listen, I get it. Decision fatigue is real. And sometimes I don't want to make choices either. I understand. But like, this has to come from you. This healing work is already within you. This ability to listen to your body and trust your intuition and feel really at home within yourself. It has always been within you. You are the light. And this has shown up for me in a lot of ways. Something that actually just happened yesterday, I think, is kind of funny. Again, logically, I can come on podcasts and I can talk about this. I can give this advice to other people. But I am also a recovering people pleaser who has a lot of relationship trauma, just got out of a really, not so great marriage. And I have a lot of trauma around men too. A lot of reasons, right? And again, I think just collectively as women, it makes sense. But I have realized that I really need headphones. I really need to wear headphones in order to work. I don't know if that's like a neurodivergent thing or what, but sometimes it helps. Like noise canceling headphones kind of cancels out the noise in my head. Playing music while I work is something that I've always done, but now I'm like, I need it to be in my ears. It can't just be around me. I have to focus, right? And so I lost my headphones, and yesterday I had a really busy work day. And my nervous system was freaking out. I was so anxious. I was just like overstimulated. I could not function. And I have two very close male friends, one of which we were planning to co-work later in the evening after he got home from his office. And so I noticed myself freaking out. I noticed my body feeling like just this lightning in my chest, right? I noticed my thoughts spiraling on the hamster wheel. That's something that you mentioned in my show too. And I took a deep breath and I was like, okay, Ben, I'm spiraling. I don't want to ask you for help because I don't want to be a burden, but I'm really struggling. I really need headphones. But I know that you already have so many things on your to-do list today when you get home. And I don't want to ask you for this because I'm this hyper independent woman, boss, like I'm overcoming so many of these wounds, right? And then I was like, wait, okay, solution. I don't have to be a burden for him. I have this other friend who's unemployed right now and he's just at home and he probably has extra headphones. Like that's going to be easier for everyone. So I'll just ask him. It was turned into a whole thing. But I reflected on that and I realized, wow, I do still have this wound in my body, in my nervous system that sometimes prevents me from speaking up for what I want and need. It prevents me from asking for help because I'm so concerned about how it's going to make other people miserable. And I'm less concerned, I'll suffer. I'll suffer. It's okay. Yep. I've been suffering my whole life. Like I'm fine with that. I'd rather suffer than put you in a bad position, right? Because again, that literally has been my whole life. And especially if you have been in relationships or circumstances that, again, have made you feel like you are not enough, your needs don't matter. When you speak up, you're not listened to or you're dismissed. Like it goes deep.
Yeah.
And I kicked myself after the end of that interaction because I was like, why was I spiraling about this stupid thing? Like, this turned into such a big, like, it's a way bigger thing than it needed to be. And Ben was like, yeah, but it wasn't a small thing to you. It was a really big thing. You needed headphones. And when you need something, I'm here for you. And I'm like, Unconditional love. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is such a good example. And I think the other thing that came up for me when you were saying that, when women, especially with women, and here I'm going to stand on my feminist soapbox for a second, but when we start to feel like we start to gain that personal power, like our sovereignty back, and we start setting boundaries and we start speaking up for what we want. For so many people, we're perceived as we're being a bitch, right?
Yeah.
For lack of a better
Oh my
word. It's
God.
like, well, she's just a bitch for speaking up for what I want, or for setting a boundary, or for saying like what I don't like, what I don't like. There's so much conditioning, like collectively around this, with a woman who knows what she wants, asks for what she wants, demands what she wants. Heaven forbid a woman demand what she wants, and it's perceived as she's alpha or she's being bitchy or whatever. Like that is, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, hot take, but like, I think women deserve to be bitches sometimes.
I mean, please.
Truly.
Bring
And like,
it out.
well, it's so funny. Like, this is a rabbit hole that we could go down. But again, I'm a newly single woman. I'm overcoming a lot of relationship trauma, recently divorced, moved back to Colorado, yada yada. And I will protect my autonomy and my sovereignty like it's nobody's business. I will set the hard boundaries. I will be direct. I will say the thing that everybody's thinking. I will absolutely make you confront the worst parts of you. And sometimes even by accident. Like,
Yeah.
it's just me being me. And some men really cannot handle that.
100%.
Especially when I first meet them. Like, I just can't, I don't hold it back.
Yeah.
Because why would I?
This is me.
I've learned how to be like very direct and honest and upfront with people. And I have gotten feedback about how that can be really intimidating. And I'm like, good, you should be scared. But then the funny thing is I've also realized that can be a wall. I have identified with avoidant attachment my whole life.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I let somebody in and I start to actually have feelings for somebody and I start to let somebody meet me with that energy and I soften, now all of a sudden I'm scared because now I don't know what to do. Now I'm actually like, someone is honoring my boundary, honoring my needs and loving me anyway. And now I'm a nervous little schoolgirl that doesn't want to interact with you. And so how does that work?
Yeah, that's so true. I think there is a fine line between I'm going to set my boundary, I'm going to speak my truth, I'm going to say what I want, blah, 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 all that stuff. And yeah, using it as a wall, because I think it has to be met with a person who can receive that, like who is sovereign enough in their own power where they can receive that.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, honestly, I feel like that is a lot less common than I would like to think, to have, the masculine be able to receive that, like a woman who can own her feminine and masculine, and then a man or a partner who can honor that part of them, right? It's like that is, I just feel like that's not this day and age. This is not as common as we would think.
No. And it's something that I have really opened up to because I am such a feminist. I am such a strong, independent woman. And again, it is definitely a wall. It's definitely a wound, but it's also very real. Like, I do believe that women should be independent and should be sovereign and should express themselves. Then there's this whole piece of financial independence and, history of that and all of that, right? But allowing myself to be taken care of by a very divinely masculine man, allowing him to show up for me unconditionally and hold all of that space for me and allowing me to soften, it kind of like pisses off that feminist part of me. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, no, this is part of me too. Like, this is divine femininity. To receive. I am allowed to be this and do this. I have not realized how hard that is for me. Again, coming back to the relationship with food piece and even just the good girl mentality, right? We have to stick to our structure. We have to stick to our meal plan, stick to our macros. We have to get the good grades in school. We have to listen. We have to get good grades. We have to follow the rules, right? We cannot be the little rebel chaos child that we want to be, because then that would stir the pot and then that would force people to think critically, and God forbid that happens, right? And so yeah, it's really interesting. It is really interesting because I think so many women fall into that masculine, that overly masculine part of themselves, because again, I also think society kind of in part creates that for us, but it's what we're told we have to be to conform. And to hold space for the sovereignty and independence, and also the femininity, the receiving, the care, the mother, the love. It is a beautiful dynamic between two people or more than two people. It is a beautiful feeling within yourself. And I wish I could articulate how how we can let ourselves open up to that, because it's truthfully something I'm still figuring out, right? How to exist in the masculine and the feminine in all aspects of my life, especially in relationships. But yeah, it really does take, I think it just takes the right person, special people, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I also think that there's a certain part of the inner work, like the healing that's required. Because you said it, I think that a lot of this is just, here we are going, both of us going to our feminist soapbox. I feel like so much of this is wounds from the patriarchy. And I was reading this article the other day, and I love the take on, I wish I could remember who, I think it was on Substack, but it was basically talking about how the patriarchy, there are things men are dealing with because of it, wounds that men are dealing with in women. Like we always talk about the women, but men are affected by the patriarchy too, and in a lot of not so great ways. But I think what we're talking about here, it is just wounds from the patriarchy, because we feel like, well, I've got to be this super strong, firm, whatever type of woman to be able to stand up to the patriarchy. But at the same time, we are both, all of us as humans are meant to have that feminine, masculine energy, right? All of us. It's not about a gender thing, right? We're talking about energy. I've talked about this. I've had a few guests talk about that. Just wanted to make that clear. But we both of us are meant to give and receive, right? That's all of us as humans. And so there is this part that you said, it requires this softening and this, I think we talked about shame before. I think there's a lot of that too, of healing the shame, the collective shame that has to be felt in order for us to open ourselves up to that receivership. Because
hey, y'all, we'll get right back to the episode. But first, let me ask you this. You've built a vision that others admire, and you've built something that you're really proud of. But behind the scenes, your body feels like it's lagging behind. It just can't quite catch up to your brilliance and your mission that you have. That late night second wind, the foggy mornings, the hormone shifts, the endless push and forcing. You can't strategize your way out of that. And you already know you don't need more supplements. You don't need another supplement stack. You also don't need another side hustle disguised as self-care, because nobody wants to have their health as a side hustle. This is about recalibrating your entire ecosystem. And that's why I created the Quantum Reset, a premium 3-month high-touch healing experience for visionary women who are ready to feel as powerful in their bodies as they do in their business. Inside, we decode your nervous system, your minerals, your hormones. We read your labs like the sacred text that it is, so we have actual answers. And then we pair that with deep energetic recalibration, subconscious release. We use gene keys, we use human design, and true embodied healing. This isn't about fixing burnout, because that's not what we're doing here. This is about becoming the woman whose body is powerful, whose body is completely electric, whose energy, clarity, radiance finally matches the size of her mission. If you know your success isn't meant to cost you your vitality, and you're ready for a science-backed, spirit-led reset, then the Quantum Reset is your invitation. So check the link in the show notes or send me a message on Instagram, and let's bring your body back online with your brilliance. Now, let's get back to the show.
I think there's a plateau or a threshold that we won't meet in our growth and our evolution if we don't allow ourselves that softening in order to receive. So yeah, I just think that there's so much wounding around that, being the alpha woman or whatever. But really, I think that's just, I think it's another one of those collective wounds that we as women have, that there's a lot of work to be done on that softening to help us to be able to get to that point, to feel safe to receive like that.
Yeah. Again, shout out to the men that are doing the work. I don't know if men listen to your podcast, but especially in my own personal life, I've seen a lot of men who get stuck in this idea that they have to be the provider all the time, that they have to be the one to take care of the woman, that they have to be the giver all the time. And then that drains them, especially if if they don't feel that mutual reciprocation from the woman. And that's where I hold a lot of guilt too. If I don't have mental, emotional, physical, spiritual capacity to give in the way that I want to this person or these people right now, it's like now I feel like I'm not enough, but I have to trust that I am enough as I am. And I think that men need to be around women who are really comfortable in their divine masculine energy too. It's like, hey, I don't see gender here. I don't see gender roles. I love you for who you are as a soul. And I want to care for you and provide for you while you can't, because I know that when you can, you will do the same for me in whatever way you can, right? Like that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. And I think the important thing there is that I've had this conversation with my husband before, because it's not just about finances.
Yeah.
Give. And I think for me, so my husband got laid off last year. And so there's this period of time, there's like 6 months where I had to provide for the whole family. And I'm not used to doing that. We're a 2-income household. And so it was a whole new thing. Talking about wounds of the patriarchy for men, I mean, that was a really hard thing for him because he had to sit back and I had to say, hey, like, I got this. Like, I'm going to take care of us now. Like, let me step up. And that was such a big thing for him. And then I think that was the conversation we had around the receivership. Like, well, you're doing all this. And it's like, it's not about just the financial thing, like the giving or receiving in a relationship like this, in a partnership. There are so many ways that we as women and men give. It's not just about the finances. No, that's a big piece, but it's, there's the care and the love and the support and the running the household. Like there's all these different ways. And I think that a lot of those can really go overlooked, because I know I've had those conversations too before, or I've had these times where, like, I talked about COVID, I think on your show, there was this support. It was a lot of struggle. I almost lost my business. It was the whole thing. But there was a time where I felt like there was a lot of guilt and shame because I wasn't bringing in any money to help the household. And so I'm like, I'm not contributing. That's what I kept telling him. I feel like I'm not contributing. And he was like, do you think the only way you can contribute is to help with bills? Like that's the only way? But there's so much programming around that. And I think a lot of us get stuck in that, where we feel like that's the only way to help, contribute in a relationship or partnership or whatever. It's just so much bigger than that.
And that's why I'm so passionate about just talking about the fact that we are so much more than how much money we make. We are so much more than our career. We're so much more than the size of our body. I love the saying, I love the wine, not the label. Like, I want to know you as a person, as a soul, as a spirit. I don't care how much money you have in your bank account. I don't care what your college education is. I care about you as a person. Half the time, I don't even care what you look like. I don't care if you're male, female, whatever. I just want to know you. And this is also kind of my own rat race that I get caught up in, because I'm like, well, do I really have to go through the hard work of building this business? Or I could just be happy at a coffee shop because I'm still helping people and, just living my life. It doesn't really matter what I do for work. I'm still a great person, right? So you can kind of spiral the other way. But I just think we need to be around more people who hold that, or at least share that with more people, right? And try to what's the word I'm looking for? I guess, share or embody that perspective of love, all of you, the darkest parts, the demon, regardless of what society says we need to be successful, or what society says we need to be divinely masculine or divinely feminine, to be attractive. It doesn't matter. We just need to see people for all of who they are. And we need to be comfortable in sharing that, because vulnerability is met with vulnerability. Right?
Yeah, I love that. I feel like we also need a part 2 in this.
Hell yeah.
Let's just talk for hours. Oh my gosh, these are such good, deep conversations. This is so good. I have one more question I want to ask you that I like to ask everybody as we wrap up. Before I do that, can you just let everybody know where they can find you and follow along?
Absolutely. My Instagram is alex.undefined_. I have taken a hiatus from social media for a while because of my accident that I mentioned. And again, we can definitely do a part 2 about that. I'm also going to talk about it on my show, but I am still on social media. I'm still checking my messages. I still post on my stories, and I am 0.3 seconds away from launching my new website and doing a whole rebrand. So once that's live, I'll send it over to you, but my DMs are always open and I would love to chat with you.
Perfect. And I will put all that in the show notes. Can't wait to see your new website. That's so exciting. Okay, the last question I want to ask you, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
So when I answer these questions, I always have to answer the first thing that comes to mind, because that's my intuition, that's divine. And the first thing that I heard was love. Because again, I've been exploring a lot of what my own soul's purpose here on this earth really is. And I keep coming back to limitless love. Like, I want to love myself and I want to love people unconditionally for all of who they are. I want to help women learn how to love themselves unconditionally, outside of labels, outside of restriction, outside of all of these things that we've been talking about. And especially as it relates to romantic relationships and my own avoidance, my own trauma, my own sexual trauma, the only way that I can truly heal from that, at least in my own personal experience, is I say I run through the wall, right? The deeper I go with this work, the scarier the walls get, the scarier the layers, the darker it is, right? And every wall gets harder and harder to break through. But the only way to let the light in is to love yourself through it and to learn, okay, this is how I speak up and set boundaries. Okay, this is how I ask what I want. This is how I love myself while loving this other person. This is how I can show up and embody love in this relationship without avoidance. And that is the thing that heals you. So yeah, I think living with purpose really is just living with love.
That is so beautiful. I love that answer. Thank you so much, Alex, for spending time with us, hanging out. And I mean, you have so much wisdom and insight to give us. And I love these deep conversations. So thank you for jamming with me today. And just thanks for everything that you're putting out in the world.
Thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for creating this container. I am so excited for part 2 on your show and mine. Oh, yeah, this is powerful stuff.
It is.